Welcome back to episode 18 of the Cyber Queens Live, and happy International Women's Day to all of our fellow women in cyber and queens out there, and our allies. Thank you so much for being an ally if you are one. Today, we are having a super fun, super appropriate conversation for the holiday. I'm really personally excited about it. We are going to be talking about female entrepreneurship in cyber with our friend Victoria. So as always, though, I'm one of your hosts, Meryl Vernon, expert in all things red team, offensive, and purple team. I'm also joined by Erica.
I'm Erica Eakins, your technical sales rep who likes to say she's not technical.
Which I'm going to beat out of her one day when I come to Colorado. And our special guest of the hour, we have CEO of Callity, Victoria Germanova, joining us today. Really, really excited. So Victoria, please tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Callity and what you do.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. It is so lucky that we're here on International Women's Day. I know that was a coincidence, but let's pretend it was planned.
Totally planned.
I'm Victoria. I'm calling in from California. I've been on the West Coast for 3 years, although you might be able to hear I'm from the UK originally. I founded a startup while I was at business school. It is in the cybersecurity space. I've had some experience in sales myself before that, a little bit of experience in PR and on the buy side at Salesforce. And all of that kind of led me to start working on this idea and the solution. And I'm really, really pumped to be one of apparently there's only 70 female founders in cybersecurity over several thousand. I saw that yesterday.
17 or 70?
70, but it's out of 3,000.
A horrible number.
72 out of 3,309 cybersecurity vendors have a woman founder. Did you know that?
That is still horrible.
It's so bad.
It is.
We need to get that number up.
Really bad. Yeah.
Well, we are so grateful you're one of the 72. And okay, I've never heard the story. So Victoria and I have chatted a couple times just about various things. We kind of got thrown into each other's orbits. I think through Danny Wolf, right? If I'm recalling correctly.
Yes.
Danny's just
He knows
everything. Fabulous. So so I've never gotten the story. So Callity, so you started it while you were still in school. Where did the idea come from for the business? And tell us a little bit about what the business does.
Yeah. Yes. So it really began in COVID. It was one of the silver linings of COVID for me is that I took some time out of business school where I was at Stanford to basically wait out the pandemic and not be cooped up in a dorm room doing virtual class and paying a lot of money for, Zoom MBA. So I took a year out and I worked in the industry for a bit longer, which was really good because at that point in time, I had no idea what I was doing in my life. But then with like a year in the industry, I got some experiences that basically prepared me to come back to school and start a company. So I spent the first part of that year at Salesforce. I was on the customer success group team with Jim Roth and Madhav Thattai, both amazing bosses and mentors of mine to this day. And we were basically helping Salesforce through this sort of cultural commercial shift that Jim Roth was really pushing forward, which is, we cannot build everything ourselves. Salesforce used to want to build everything in-house, like not M&A, would buy out companies, but actually becoming a vendor that served Salesforce as a seller, like that was really, really hard to do. There's a lot of red tape around that. So we wanted to make that process happen better for sort of innovative entrepreneurial startups that could serve Salesforce as a supplier. And so we were trying to find ways to cut around that red tape, basically. And I was part of that buying motion, bringing vendors in at Salesforce. Quickly realized that it's really, really frustrating when you spend all this time on the buy side, getting the right people in the room. Salesforce is a globally distributed organization and everyone works 9 to 5, just lots of different time zones. So I, as like chief of staff, would spend weeks trying to get the right people in the room for a vendor pitch. And then the vendor would pitch and then we'd find out in the call that, hey, like they don't solve the problem we thought they solved, or their pricing is well out of whack versus our budget, or hey, they can't even demo. We've got all this effort and time together and they haven't even got a sales engineer on the call. They're not ready to demo. They're trying to qualify us. Erica, I know you're on the sales side, so I'm sure some of this is
Erica's probably dying inside to chime in. She's like, get it.
I'm sure you would never do this to Salesforce, but
Never.
but we did experience that, and it was frustrating and it was painful, and it sort of made me think about why is it so hard to figure out the basic information about a vendor before you go and take the call, right? Why can't we just put that information in an email or a database or something like that? I then went and did the director of sales role. So I played both sides. I'm a double crossing agent. I've been in the shoes of a director of sales at a MarTech company selling into companies like Salesforce. And I was tasked with generating new business. And I was doing cold outreach. I was the one sending out hundreds of messages per day on LinkedIn, desperately trying to find any common ground with anyone that might be a buyer and being like, hi, John, I noticed we went to the same cafe 5 years ago because we both Facebook checked in there.
Okay, Danny's having a heart attack somewhere. She's over there on the other side of the world, waking up out of a sleep going, no, someone's cold calling right now.
Yeah. But it's funny because, I mean, if you hear Daddy's story, like she also did that. Like we've all done it.
Yeah. And we've all been a victim of it. Raise your hand if you too in cyber have been victimized by cold sales messages.
I'm victimized every day with Cyber Queens and Teach Kids Tech.
Teach Kids Tech. I told you, I sent Erica a screenshot. Like my first day I threw it up, I had like 60 new emails and I'm like, wow, they wasted no time at all.
Nope.
Like this email is brand new. And
I'm CRO, so I manage the revenue for Teach Kids Tech, and I cannot tell you how bad it is. And I was on Danny's one of Danny's sessions with some CISOs. So we talked about how the cold outreach and how to get a CISO, on your side. So I'm dying inside laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, Danny's going to come out of her sleep right now and murder us.
I have a one-on-one with her right after this podcast. So she's going to I'm pretty sure. And just today, it's funny, you guys tagged me in this podcast thing, and like immediately I got inbound from someone saying, Benjamin, we've looked at your profile and we think you'd be great on our podcast. And I'm like, no, sorry.
They don't even look at your name.
Who that? Like, it's International Women's Day and you've called me Benjamin and you're called Harry.
You're like, I'm double insulted now to add insult to injury. Yeah. But that's why, by the way, everybody, little PSA, that's why I have a little emoji in front of my first name on LinkedIn. That way, if someone's using a bot or they're scripting out, pulling someone's first name from their profile and cold DMing people, it will pull the emoji in with it but if you've typed it out, you'll leave the emoji off. Obviously, you're not going to be like, hi, flag Meryl Vernon. Like, so that's one of the things I do to know if someone is bot spamming me or if someone took the time to actually type out my name and write me a message. Small PSA. Okay, but anyway, so Vika, so you're in the trenches, you're doing that.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm doing that. And I'm like, okay, I thought am I allowed to swear on this?
No, please don't. I have to edit it out later.
We have to edit it out.
Hot. I thought I was going to be so good. I thought I was going to be the best salesperson in the world. I thought I had all these connections, fancy schools, like all this careful personalization. And then 3 weeks into the job, I'm like looking at my stats and it's like, okay, 8% took my LinkedIn request. 3% are interacting with me, 1.5 or whatever are going into a meeting, are turning into a meeting. And I brought that to my CEO and I was like, I'm so sorry. I suck. I'm the worst. I shouldn't be doing this. And he looked at my data, my numbers, and was like, "This is really good. You're twice as good as the other guy right now." So just realizing that you get a pat on the back for like 8%, 6%, 4% conversion, that's better than industry average, and that's seen as the baptism of fire. That's just how it goes. That's how you do sales. That's how you learn. But what about the other 92% or 94%, 96%? Like that's noise that you're throwing out into this big black hole of the LinkedIn universe. You're hurting your brand, maybe, right? You're pissing people off. You're
definitely
throwing
pissing people off.
bad juju. I don't like it. I don't like it. It
Yeah.
felt very, very wrong and very broken that the entire industry has just decided that this is how this works.
And you know what? I know Erica's dying to chime in, but mine is short, so I'm going to go first. So I was only in sales for a short time. Actually, where I got my exposure to cyber was like doing IT recruiting, so like technical recruiting, and I didn't know what I was doing, right? I would just cold call candidates and be like, hi, they want .NET. Do you have that? I didn't even know what I was talking about. But they told us super toxic advice. They were like, we just want you to go out on LinkedIn, Google anyone's profile with like these skills and keywords and just start mass adding people. You better go from 200 to over 1,000 connections overnight. That's what we want to see. And I'm like, right, I'm going to do it. And I did it. Yeah. That's what I was told to do. But I'm like, that was such toxic advice. I went back when I restarted and unadded all those people, deleted my old Twitter, and like started over. I was like, no, I'm not keeping the non-value ads up in here. Okay, Erica, your turn.
I cannot tell you how much I hate the sales process right now and how broken it is. That's how I ended up on a 3-part series with Danny and some CISOs and another salesperson. So I'm very interested, because if you get, a customer's attention and then you don't flip them because of something I supposedly didn't do, or if it doesn't turn into an opportunity, we are basically hung by a string. Like you're not going to have a job if you don't convert these into opportunities and then into deals. So I am going to keep quiet for right now, because I'm boiling inside. My face is getting red, because I'm like, this is my daily life still to this day. I want to know how your company was born.
Erica's triggered. Okay.
Triggered.
So you realize we're getting the wrong people in the room. You're like, your budget is not a match for your product. This sucks. Yeah. This is broken.
This sucks for both sides. Everyone's angry. It's B2B. Go ahead.
Hold on. I will tell you that I know where you're going with this, but it just proves that the people that tell me I'm wrong, the way that we need to sell and how we need to change and how the sales process is broken, mostly men have told me this in my career, that I don't know what I'm doing and I need to sit the heck down and just shut up and do the way that they want it done. Yeah. I hope that you have a company that is basically proving that what I've been screaming for years, proving me wrong.
Wait for the truth bomb. Wait for the truth bomb.
I think we can provide that, Erica. And I feel a huge amount of pressure to do that. Felt all this pain, felt all this emotion. It's rare in B2B to really feel rage, right? To see rage and to see like misery, but that really is just both sides of the coin and with this problem. And that was right when I was coming back into Stanford to finish business school. And that environment is just so entrepreneurial. Like you're surrounded by people starting companies, you're surrounded by people like classes, entrepreneurs, instructors. And so I kind of had that mindset of, okay, here's this big ass problem. Why don't I see what we can do to fix it, right? Like what would a change need to look like? And we started with first principles, i.e. the trust is broken. Why? Because incentives don't align between the folks in the sales org who are at the top of the funnel, finding potential targets, reaching out to them, getting time in, qualifying them. Those are the more junior members of a sales org. Typically, that's where the volume versus value piece comes in. Like Erica, that's where like people just whoop you and tell you to sit down and just like do what you're supposed to do, even though strategically it makes no sense, right? Just that it works. That 1%, that 2% is enough. It's better than nothing. And so they're willing to do the 100 outreach for each of them.
She's dying. For those of you who Erica's face is dying.
I'm a seasoned sales professional. I'm a field rep. So I'm enterprise at this point. I should be a VP of sales or, CRO, but I've chosen to stay on the individual contributor side. So I'm excited for what you're about, for you to continue.
I'll go ahead. We basically, we decided to solve this problem by reestablishing trust and realigning the folks on each side that do understand what the problem is and how to solve it and are interested in building real relationship capital. That's like a Danny Wolf phrase, but we share it now. She hasn't trademarked it yet. And who understands like the value of not meeting buyers where they're at, and not frustrating them and not ruining your brand. That's like sales leaders typically, right? Strategic sales leaders who understand that one good meeting is better than 10 terrible ones. So what we're building is a marketplace. It's a managed marketplace, which means it's not open source. It's not like, it's not Amazon. You can't just log in and find things. Like, it's a managed marketplace, which means that basically we work with the buy side, CISOs, people you're familiar with. Chris Roberts is one of our biggest, happiest clients and champions of Callity. John Overbar as well. Ken Ricketts. There's a few really great early design partners that have been working with us on this. But we work with CISOs and security directors, security managers when they have an urgent need. So they come out of an audit, they come out of a review, they have new budget allocated for the year, or they have an upcoming renewal. At that moment when they're like, okay, I need to go to market and find the right vendor or review who I'm currently using, that's when they can use Callity and run a search basically through us. The other side of it is the vendor side, obviously. And I can see some of our, maybe James is on the sell side. Yeah, definitely. We have over 100 vendors already signed up for kind of changing the grain and basically giving us information into our database around their differentiation. Not the sales and marketing stuff, but like, what do you do? What does your like Erica, what problem does your product solve? What's the job to be done?
Everything. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you can't first of all, she's like everything. We fix all the problems.
I'm just kidding. No, so I currently work for SentinelOne, so people know us as endpoint protection. That's what they really know us for. We compete against CrowdStrike, but we have a lot of other things that customers don't know. Like we have a whole cloud offering. So we can give you literally endpoint protection all the way through the cloud. So, and the fact that customers don't know that because they don't want to listen to us. And when I did this 3-part series with Danny, they said something like this was coming, and that's what they meant was you. They're working with you to get this, because they wish there was a repository of information for CISOs to go to, Chris Roberts and Dimitri. And I've had so many customers say that, like, if I could just go to this repository, because like for me, if I go to a customer that I've never dealt with right now, I say SentinelOne, and they're like, yep, endpoint, but they have no idea that they can secure their containers and Kubernetes through us as well.
Yeah, completely. That's the thing. The problem is that when you Google something like, I need to buy a SIM, the thing that you're always going to end up on is a vendor's white paper, which can be valuable, but it's not something that buyers trust as much as a third party, which are shoes that you'd think would be filled by like Forrester, Gartner, Optiv, CDW, but like, hell no. The problem with those guys is they're one size fits all, pay to play. Exactly. It's not actually a clean lens on the market, and it's not a curated lens on the market. You're not putting filters over the Magic Quadrant to tell you, okay, as a financial services company at stage 2 security maturity with this tech stack, running these adjacent, vendors on our platform already, with this experience and this budget, like that's the lens that we kind of apply to the market when we're working with a buyer's needs.
That's excellent. I love, so you actually include security maturity as like your maturity level is like you might not be ready to go straight to MDR, but maybe you're ready for like this step right here. And that's also probably an indicative factor of your organization's like size and budget as well. So it's like, you might not be able to afford MDR either, but you can probably piece these things together and get what you need done. That's excellent.
Exactly.
I am so excited. And I have a question for you right off the bat. So since you're a female entrepreneur in cyber, how have you been treated?
We're getting away from the business talk now into the team.
Well, I'm saying when you go into a company and you're a female founder, you're a female CEO, and we work in a male dominated industry. That is 100% true. I've lived it. People have heard the podcast before, what has gone on. How are you treated versus maybe somebody who's not female?
Yeah, great question.
Give it to us.
I will preface with, I obviously don't know how a guy in my shoes would be treated. I can just see, other successes and failures from the sidelines. And I will also preface and say the majority of folks in the industry have been great, have been warm, have been friendly, have been receptive and open. It's not all cybersecurity professionals fall into what I'm about to say, which is there have been situations that have forced my jaw to hit the floor, right? Like, I think I've been kind of lucky, honestly, until now. I was like, obviously a feminist, but I wasn't like, oh, this is something that keeps me up at night, right? Like, I'm running into sexism in my everyday job. Like, it just wasn't happening because I was in like decent schools and then consulting and then like these big institutions, Salesforce, and like they're also there's always a HR department and there's always a policy and there's always examples of like, you know, when someone did cross over a line, things went wrong for them, right? There's justice basically. When you're just on your own, going in to a big company and pitching them, you don't have HR. No one is protecting you. No one's watching you. There's no structures. So people can really abuse that, unfortunately. One example I remember very vividly where this really happened for the first time. I was driving. I was on a phone call. It was on the vendor side, actually, because initially we actually it was explaining like the AEs and the sales folks on the vendor side would like love us, like immediately be like, yes, you're giving me everything I need to know about a buyer. You're telling me I don't have to pay for a meeting unless it actually happens. Like, yes, let's do this. So we had brought this buyer profile to a vendor I will not name. The AE was all fired up, was the best, like so excited about us, championing us internally, everything. He was like, yeah, I think we just need to get approval for this budget to come from the channels and partnerships guy. And I was like, great, get him to call me. So I'm driving my car like to Palo Alto or something. And then I get this call from this guy and I'm expecting it. So I'm like, hi, like, you know, I open it very friendly, like ready to do my little introduction. He doesn't introduce himself, doesn't ask me anything about an overview. He just goes, Victoria, okay, I'm just going to say this out of the bat. We're not going to pay you for this. Like, just so you know, like, I appreciate what you're doing as a woman trying to make it on your own. But we're a pretty big international company. I don't know if you know, we're like $1 billion international company. And if you're gonna try and serve us, you're gonna need to accept that some things won't go your way. We're not gonna pay you for this meeting. And I was like, my foot like went down on the accelerator.
And we're not gonna dox this vendor. I mean, I would love to, but we don't have to. No, business is precious, protect it. But I mean, ooh, dang.
I don't want to dox the vendor because the AE was great. The head of sales was great. But this dude, who it turns out, by the way, he was giving me so much shit on this call. And then, so much stuff on this call. And then towards the end of the call, he's like, oh, by the way, this budget wouldn't fall under me anyway. Like, I just took the call because I heard about it on Slack. Like, I'm not the decision maker here. This other person is. And I was like...
So not only does my opinion not affect this decision at all, I'm just going to give you my unsolicited opinion on how you're doing your job.
Yeah. No introduction, no
preamble. Just
I saw this PDF on Slack and I decided to jump in and tell you how you're going to fail and how you're not going to get paid and how you're going to have
shame on him.
Right? Shame. It was bad.
I one time sat down in a meeting and someone immediately opened and it was obviously a gentleman and he goes, listen, sweetheart. And I was like, I didn't hear anything you said after that. I told him later, I was like, by the way, when you open up like that, you are automatically turning off anyone who you're aiming that comment at or who is an ally of that person because you have now just isolated yourself as being an idiot.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, I am not your sweetheart. And even if I was available, you wouldn't even make the cut, dude.
Yeah. Like, I'm curious if you guys have like experienced this on the conference floor as well. It's really we had a conference booth at Tel Aviv, Israel, Cybertech last month, and people kept like assuming I was like a booth girl. Booth babe. And then asking to like speak to the CEO, and I'd be like, "Hi, hello,
I'm here."
Absolutely, it happens every freaking conference because there are companies that actually hire women that don't even work for them because they're hot, so they can attract attention, which is totally sexist, by the way, but it works. So yes, it happens. Even walking around the conference, people thought that I worked at the hotel.
Yes, I got that. Twice, people coming up to me and asking me for like the toilets. I'm like, I don't know, I don't work here, and they're like,
I don't work here.
You don't?
I mean,
Yeah, we've all told horror stories about conferences. Like someone dead stopped me because of how like I was just in a pink suit and was like, "What do you do? Are you here for the conference?" I was like, "Yeah, I totally am." And he goes, "Oh, like what do you do?" And I was like, "I'm a red teamer." And he goes, "No, you're not." And I was like, "Yes, I am." And he goes, "No, you're not. There's no way you look like that and you're a red teamer." And I was like,
"Oh, be humble."
Is this real life or am I being punked? This is someone where someone I know is around here, right?
You handled that like a badass because you told me the story on the phone. You should finish the story because you tell them what you did, Meryl. Tell them what you did.
My friends were like, just leave it alone. He's not worth it. Like, you don't even know this guy. And I was like, no, you know what? This is an opportunity. This is a learning opportunity. And I educated him very sternly, but very diplomatically on exactly how incorrect his assumptions were and how he is not to assume who people are and what they can do based on how they're dressed and how I can look however I want and be however capable I want. They are not mutually exclusive. And we walked away and ended that conversation. And I was like, I hope you do better in the future. And he actually went and found me on LinkedIn and messaged me like the next day because DEF CON was still happening. And he was like, I just wanted to say, I'm so sorry for my comments. Thank you so much for like taking the time to talk to me. And like, he's like, I promise to do better. I don't know what I was thinking. And I'm like, yeah, me either, but good. I'm glad to see you turn over a new leaf.
I am like, my problem is my reaction to anything like that is just rage, like rage, like very masculine, aggressive, like fury. Like it's not like I can't like put like I'm not very good at responding. I'm not very good at calming the situation down. I'm just like I just start talking over them, which sometimes they respond to well because they're like, oh damn. But like then I'm like, am I just playing this stupid game where I'm like trying to be more male? Like why can't I just be myself?
Female. Yeah. It's like they demand that we meet them on their level in order for them to respect us. But then the second we do meet them on their level, like Erica's mentioned 1,000 times, we're that overly assertive, abrasive female. And it's like, she just needs to learn to control herself. Dudes would never talk like that to each other. It's like, you would never talk to a dude the way you speak to us either. So it's a two-way street. Communication is.
Well, and I think it's Amanda. She said she gets the dumb blonde assumption. Totally happens for me. My hair is purple and then it goes to blonde because I tone it purple. And a lot of the times they think that I'm just like somebody that's hired for marketing or the dumb blonde comment. And I'm like, I have like probably more more degrees, which doesn't always mean something. So for all you naysayers against degrees, but like double master's degree, came from being poor, lived in my car at one point, single mom. What's your story? What's your excuse? Oh, you went to a college that your parents paid for? Yeah, I lived in my car and now look where I'm at. So it's like, and if I'm too aggressive, I get talked to and I need to control myself. So I've learned in my career to put people down the way they put me down, but with a smile on my face. And you'll never know that I'm actually insulting you until after the conversation's over.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Vika. I'm just like you. My initial reaction is rage. Like I can feel a spike over. I'm like, and then I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't. I think that's my mom training coming in, right? Like, I would love to just yell at you, but I know how to get what I want by de-escalating and offering you a snack and then seeing if we can be friends. And it's sad that I have to do that with professionals in the industry, but yet it comes up all the time.
I need to have kids to get this under control. Noted.
Possibly. It will greatly help.
I'm boyfriend about this right now. Like, it's important for my personal development that I get a bit of mom instinct training.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when people insult females in the industries that they work with versus males, like when they're talking smack on another dude, they're like, oh, that dude's numbers, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, did you see how he bombed that meeting? But when they're attacking females, they go, did you see how emotional she got? Like, oh my God, she needs to learn. Oh, did you see she came in late today? God, I wonder what's up with her now. Like they attack us as people and they don't attack like objective things. So then when we defend ourselves and we get emotional about it because you've attacked us directly and not something like you would someone else, then we're the emotionally erratic ones. And that's not fair. So I would challenge anybody working in cyber, anybody at all, you're at a conference, you don't know who anyone is or what they do. You don't know Erica, you don't know Victoria, you don't know me. Walk up and introduce yourself to someone with no assumptions whatsoever. Assume that person could be the CEO, an engineer, in sales, in marketing. It doesn't matter. Have no assumptions and just get to know them based on what they do and see how many more genuine relationships you walk away with.
Yeah.
That's my freaking PSA for this episode.
I mean, it's true, because you don't know what somebody's been through and what road they've walked, and that's just like treat people kindly, right? It goes back to just being a human. What are some other challenges that you've had, Victoria, being a female founder or CEO, as you know, in cyber, just other than just people, you know, assuming like you're a dumb blonde, or what are some other challenges being a startup?
Yeah. I mean, we couldn't. I'm very glad that we're in this space. We've met amazing people. I've met amazing people. I have incredible mentors. There's a lot of people that inspire me in this industry every day, including the people in this room. But it is a tough industry. Like it's that there's a reason that sellers really, really feel the pain of selling to CISOs more so than almost any other industry. And it's partly why we came into it. We were looking for signals of spaces where there's a lot of breakdown between vendor and buyer comms. There's way more vendors than buyers. There's confusion. There's like a complex tech stack that like procurement can't just, look at like they would like at chairs or pens or something. So we kind of knew what we were getting into, but the flip side of this being a noisy space where it's hard to sell is that coming in as a startup that is helping you with that problem, but is also a vendor ourselves, right? We're not like a nonprofit organization. Has meant that it's been really, it's been tough to just re-educate and open people's eyes to the idea of, hey, this thing that has been broken for so long, that can be changed. And it doesn't require a cybersecurity degree, 20 years experience in the field to do it.
You said two things that I want to hit on. You said that you have mentors. We have talked about branding and mentorship in the past on Cyber Queens. And then you said you don't have to have degrees. We've also talked about that. So that is amazing to hear that from a CEO and founder.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, when I first, when we first decided to focus on cybersecurity, and I say the we, it's kind of the royal we, like for a long time, I was completely on my own.
It's just you.
It's me and my other personalities. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're talking to yourself. You're like, don't mind me. I'm having a staff meeting. Okay. Me, myself, and I are going to make some decisions right now.
Head of HR. I'm like, you're everything. You're everything.
HR's here. Hi. Accounting's here. Also Victoria. Hi.
Present.
Well,
Victoria with accounting, Victoria with sales. How are you?
Tangent, but you know when you start a company, you have to do all this paperwork, and it was absurd. Like I was like, how do I start a company? Do I just like, is it like Michael Scott in The Office? I just stand up and go, I have a company, and then it just counts. No,
I love The Office.
Yeah, like I declare bankruptcy. I literally was like, I like emailed a lawyer and I was like, how do I start a company? Like, what makes me a company? And they were like, you have to put this paperwork in and you have to sign it. And I was like, cool. So I prepared a document that was like, the board of directors, i.e. Victoria Germanova, would like to formally recognize that we are like the CEO of the company is Victoria Germanova. And this is signed by the shareholders, i.e. Victoria Germanova. So it was my own signature 3 times on a piece of paper addressed to myself. And then I was like, what do I do with this now? And I sent it to the lawyer and they're like, no, you're a company. That's it. You sign. And I'm like, this piece of paper that I signed myself 3 times in 3 different places has made me a company. Fascinating.
That's totally kosher. That seems totally legit.
Yeah, it's wild.
I will say I handed the entire business side of Cyber Queens off to Erica. I was like, listen, we all know I'm doing the marketing and the branding. I don't know how to make us a business. You do that. She did.
Yeah, it's incredible how easy it comes, but everything after that is what's tough. So you could start a company with just an idea. It's what you do after is what makes it tough, which is what you have been through so far.
Exactly. No, obviously everything just gets harder and harder.
And by the way, just because you know you're going to tread a hard road doesn't make it any easier to actually walk. Like you can look it in the eye and say, I know what I'm getting into. I am going to start I'm gonna be a startup, which people already have an inherent disbelief against, right? Because startups want to come and change something, and it costs money usually. And then you're a female founder, and they already have an inherent disbelief and bias against you for that as well. But it doesn't make it any easier, even though you're looking the beast right in the face to go do it. So I'm wondering, as someone who was non-technical, because you came from traditional sales and an MBA route, what made you want to start a company in a technical field as a non-technical person?
Yeah. Well, we did this humongous kind of listening to the customer thing, right as I was wrapping up Stanford. Like, there's a class called Startup Garage, which is where you take an idea through it by running it by deeply listening to customers, potential clients in spaces like 15, 20 calls a week, and then you rapidly iterate and you start like changing your paper prototype that you show them and just getting more and more feedback. So you're completely building with a customer voice in mind. And I was getting like a lot of different teams around me, around us. And at that point, there was a team. It wasn't just me. At that point, a lot of folks were realizing their problem space was like not that hot, actually. Like, it wasn't that much of a problem, or their solution wasn't really landing, or whatever it was. Like, whereas we kind of just got more and more and more conviction, and more people telling us like, yeah, this is very broken. Yeah, if you can fix this, that would be amazing. And yeah, this kind of idea could work really well, and I would participate in that. We got a lot of this validation, and then we also did this scan of industries, and then cybersecurity, fintech, and healthcare was coming up as the industries where buyers were most frustrated and most willing to contribute to a solution. So it felt like everything was pointing towards us going into one of those spaces. Cybersecurity has, a macro-resistant budget, something that doesn't, you can't really stop spending on security during a downturn. There were a bunch of reasons why that felt like the best space to go into, especially, as well, because CISOs unlock a lot of other industries as well. Everything runs through a CISO when you're buying like DevOps or infra or data purchases as well. So there were all these flags that were telling me like, you are onto something huge. This is the place where you should do it. And then the one thing holding me back was, but I'm not technical. It was like this tiny little voice. And I started doing a Coursera like night course on cybersecurity for a while, because I just felt like I had to make up for that absence, for that like lack. And it was so deeply technical. I was like scratching my head at it. And you don't have time as a CEO anyway, right? Like, you just don't have time to do night school, basically. Like, you can do a lot of stuff, but you're not gonna be able to pick up a whole ass degree on the side. But then I started doing the work and like doing vendor sourcing for our first clients, running around, doing research, understanding what they wanted, doing the research, running around a conference with like a questionnaire and trying to fill it in. And delivered that back to the buyers, and they were like, this is great. This would have taken me ages. Yeah, you're asking the right questions. And I just suddenly realized, like, it's not like the only thing holding me back is my fear. The only thing. If you put the work in and you have strong beliefs held up by weak assumptions, which means you're willing to change your position as new information comes in, and you have conviction, like you can do it, you can solve it, you can hack anything, you can fix anything. And that was the big like corner I had to go around, was like, stop just creating reasons not to do something when everything else is pointing to you being at the right place at the right time in the right industry.
So just stop standing in your own way.
Yeah.
When somebody says I'm not technical, that doesn't mean that you won't realize that you're not that you're technical coming into cyber. So a lot of people hold themselves back coming into this field because they think that they can't do it. Yeah. I found that I was technical over the years being a salesperson. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, I could go be a CISO right now. I just don't have the credentials.
and one of the questions I get the most is like, how did you rise so far so quickly? Because I've made a lot of professional progress in a very small amount of time, especially for this industry. And I'm like, honestly, it was because I never had that fear. I never had that about myself. I was like, listen, I don't know this today, but I know my capabilities and I know my aptitude. And if you give me a week, I will know that thing better than I did today. And if you give me a month, I will be a full-on expert in that thing. Yeah. So no matter what it is you give me, no matter what it is I don't know, it won't persist. And you know, I will learn it and I will take it and I will improve upon it. So I had that faith in myself and my willingness to go in and honestly look stupid because I was non-technical. But I was like, your expectation's already as low as it can go. I can go nowhere but up. So, I mean, be stupid as long as I have to. But then I took that time to learn. And I was just like, I wasn't afraid of that part. So I think it just shows that, like, you know, the second you got out of your own way, I was never standing in my own way. Like, you can really be your own best friend or worst enemy when it comes to what you're capable of. All right. This is already a 40-minute episode. We don't want to go forever, although I would love to. I'm having so much fun.
I could talk to you all day.
Loving it. But I do want to ask one more question. One more key question before we do takeaways. So what advice would you, I want to hear about the learning curve of kind of exposing yourself to technical things, because I think Victoria's story shows that to work in tech, you don't have to be a technical person, but being a little technically inclined, kind of like speaking a foreign language, like going to France and trying to speak French. it will help, and it will help us respect where you're coming from and know your position and know how much we have to tailor things down. But like, tell us about that learning curve, kind of bringing yourself up to speed a little bit technically. And then what advice do you have for other women outside of our industry or in our industry who might want to start their own business?
Yeah. I mean, I think being very conscientious around what you need to be good at to do your job, right? Like Coursera's Introduction to Cybersecurity, very interesting, could have gone really deep into that. I didn't need it to do my job. I was just thinking about doing it to signal to others that I am smart enough to do the job. But like the actual content wasn't what I needed. What I needed was that sales commercial level insight that, Erica's talking about, that actually over time makes you pretty technical, because you just, talking to 15 vendors who do a similar thing, you walk away and you're like, okay, I get the space. Like I can talk intelligently about the different technologies that are employed in endpoint security, for example, or all the different kinds of SIM out there. Like that's a content piece that's actually we're publishing today. Like it's just figure out what you need to be good at, and then do reps, and be willing to ask stupid questions. I did definitely play the whole card of, hey, like I'm not technical. Can you explain this to me like I'm like, like you'd explain to someone who is not quite like I'm 5, but explain it to me knowing that I am not technical. And weirdly enough, that approach actually really helped with what we were doing, which is getting sellers to stop using crazy abbreviations and nonsense terms and just explain like I'm 5, like what does your product actually do? So it played to my strengths in a way to sort of foreground that. And after doing the reps, like anything you do, if you do it enough times, you'll get better at it, and you will learn, and you'll expose yourself, like a language, like a hobby, like meditation. So that's one thing I would say, is just don't let fear hold you back. Just do the thing. And I promise you'll be better at it after the 10th rep, after the 20th rep, after the 30th rep. And that's how you accumulate knowledge. Yeah.
Said it once, I said it a million times. If something intimidates you, or if you suck at something, make that thing your best friend until you make it your biatch.
Yeah. I have never danced in my entire life, but this year I'm taking dance lessons because I'm terrified of it. But I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to.
Next year you'll be on a dance team. I can't wait to see it. Personally, I'll come out and root for you.
Dancing with the stars.
And then just quickly on the second question about starting a business. Yeah, mentors. We touched upon this earlier, but mentors. Find people that you are inspired by doing anything adjacent to what you want to achieve. They don't have to be the exact copy of what you're doing. They don't, even if it's just, I like how they present themselves on stage, right? Like Caroline Wong at Cobalt is like my mentor for that. I think she's epic.
Love her.
She has amazing stage presence. She's so warm. Yes. She's so inviting. Like, am I going to end up in her shoes? Probably not. But she's someone that I aspire to, look up to, reached out to, is now an informal advisor because I saw that thing in her that I wanted to emulate. So find people like that. People love being asked to mentor others. It's a real big ego boost to be reached out to and told, you inspire me. Can you help me with XYZ? So even if it's like one call you do every 2 months, like I have those kinds of relationships set up with CEOs in my space, just because you will learn from them. And that will, like, slowly but surely you'll realize that it doesn't take a superwoman, a goddess, like, someone of 200 IQ to start something. It just takes hard work, persistence, and filling out your weaknesses and turning them into strengths.
I love that. First of all, I love her too. And if you know her, tell her that I love her, and that like, so when I speak, I have a ton of enthusiasm and a ton of energy, but I'm kind of like this unrefined, chaotic ball of energy while I'm up there. I kind of just like speak really fast and get it all out at you. But she's so refined and she has so much poise and grace. And I'm like, I want to be like that. So
it's inspirational. I was like spellbound when I saw her on stage. Yeah.
But mentors, you hear it over and over again in people's journeys. How I got started in pen testing so fast was I had mentors willing to sit down and take the time to hold my hand. And I actually met one of them just in DC last week who's known me for 4 years, since I literally was like, hi, they just made me a pen tester and I don't even know what that means. Can you help me? And he was like, I was worried for you. When the questions you were asking me, I was worried. I was like, I don't know if she's going to make it, but I'll give you all the resources and you can try. And he was like, I'm really proud to see that, like, you took off and stuff. But mentors, you will do it bigger, better, faster than us, because you will benefit from our experience and not make our mistakes. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Get a mentor.
And
if you're not mentoring somebody, mentor somebody.
You don't need to pay mentors. You don't need to be apologetic. Like, they will get a kick out of it. I promise you. Because like, it doesn't have to, like, something British in me held me back a lot in the beginning around reaching out and asking for something for free. But, you know, read How to Make Friends and Influence People,
I love that book.
Yeah, you can give people a lot without giving them money or time, by just giving them attention and feeding their ego a little bit. And it's not like a manipulation thing. It's just how people work. Like, they will enjoy imparting wisdom to you. You don't need to feel apologetic for asking for it.
Yeah. And if we don't have time, like if I just have too many, or I can't like adequately be there, I'll be like, hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Don't feel bad for asking. I don't have time to help you, but I have several other people I could recommend. You could always ask them. Like, we're willing to help funnel you to someone else. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay. This is going to be a 15-minute episode. Everybody's going to murder us in the comments. So before we do have to start wrapping it up, I do just want to say thank you so much to Victoria for taking the time to be here with us. She is a Beasley CEO. Her company is taking off and doing well. And we're so happy that you took time to hang out with us today. So we're going to go ahead and do final takeaways. We'll wrap it up with one more little summary about Callity. And if you are curious about their services or what they can do for you, you can hit up Victoria in her DMs. I'm just going to pimp her out right now. Hit her up. And if you have questions about anything else, you can hit up me or Erica. So final takeaways for the episode, anything related to entrepreneurship, coming into cyber, being non-technical. What do you ladies have? Erica, I'll tag you first.
So I'm going to say, don't be afraid and just try stuff out. Just if you come into cyber and you're like, it's not for me, at least you tried it, or tech at all, at least you tried it, but don't get in your own way. Like Victoria said, I have grown so much as an individual over time, and the last 12 years has been amazing in tech. Find a mentor, reach out and ask people. There are people that will charge you to become, to mentor you, but not everybody charges. So don't be afraid to ask. If you feel like this is too male dominated for you, this is a phenomenal story. Go follow people like Victoria, myself, Meryl, who have broken down all of the, we're myth busting right now, because you can do it. Just don't give up. And again, I've said this so many times, we need you. Please come to cyber.
We do.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I got this tattoo since becoming a founder. No fear, no fear. Specifically, because it was that was holding me back more than anything else. But yeah, what I would add to that is, if you're listening and you're at the start of your career, or if you're playing this back and you're at the start of your career, you are so lucky right now. You don't have kids, maybe you don't have maybe a dog or a car or a mortgage. Like, now is the time to take massive risks of your career, because you are only answering, I hope, to yourself at this point in your life, right? As you get older, you get more set in the things that you can do with your career, not just because of the things that I mentioned, like personal life developments, but also you take a certain degree, you take a certain job, right? Your options narrow. Whereas while you're younger and you have more options on the table, like, take those risks, like start a company or go and teach yourself something brand new. It becomes harder to change lanes later in life. And I know I'm like 27, so I'm not exactly like, well qualified to give this whole sort of, oh, your life's kind of over advice, but it's still, I have noticed the narrowing of the channels. And I think that I wish people had told me more earlier in life to just go and take more risks and dive into stuff. And I think that's just the key thing for me, is don't be like, things will only get a little harder to pivot into as time goes on. So do it now while you still have all these options on the table. And I
always say things will only be hard once. Once you start, it gets less hard, and it just gets less hard the more you do it. Excellent takeaway. So mine is going to be to learn intelligently. Like, Victoria only learned as much technical stuff as she needed to serve as a credibility marker. She didn't go all the way deep. Like, getting a Spec Plus like Erica is, yeah. Like getting certifications like Erica is doing is fantastic, but you don't need it. And honestly, it's like I said, it's used as a credibility marker. Use it to prove that you understand what we, the engineers and the technicians, are going to say back to you. But you don't need to know all of it. That's our job. It's not your job. We can't all do everybody else's jobs, or we would all suck at our own jobs. And then just like, don't try to boil the ocean. So don't try to learn all the things at once. Start somewhere, but start small with a very specific niche thing, and then graduate from there as the thing that you are good at touches other things, is going to be my only thing. And you cyber people, Stop using acronyms in conversation. Okay, just use the whole term. Just spell it out. How hard is it to say data loss prevention? How hard is it to say security and incident event management tool? Like, don't use terms other people don't. If you're with your peers and you're in a meeting, you're trying to get stuff done, acronym away. We all know. For people who don't, I mean, when I open up meetings, I say, just let me ask real quick, who here is familiar with this, with red teaming, with methodology, and with military terms? Because in this presentation, there's going to be a lot of military terms. Would anyone like me to stop and explain these things as I'm going, or are we all good enough to proceed? Like 2 seconds, it doesn't hurt. That's my PSA to cyber folks. Okay. I am late to another meeting, so I do have to get going. This has been so fun. I have enjoyed this so much. I just want to say once again to all of you women out there, happy International Women's Day. Whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're dreaming, keep going and reach out to anyone if you need help. Victoria, one more little wrap-up line about Callity. I want you to use the line that I love.
I'll keep it very, very short, but jumping off that abbreviations thing, if you're a buyer in this space that is frustrated about the amount of jargon out there and the smoke and mirrors of sales and marketing, talk to us. We can shed a light. We can get things to you when you want them at the right price point with the right vendors in the hat. Completely vendor agnostic approach. We can do that for you very quickly. So please reach out. Vendors, you're welcome to sign up to the database as well. Our whole onboarding is automated now. So you can just get on our website, follow the little form there, and we'll get you in front of buyers.
Yep. It's like Airbnb for buyers and Tinder for
vendors. Yes.
I cannot wait to use it.
We're building Tinder for vendors seeking buyers and the Airbnb for buyers seeking vendors.
I love that. I love that. So that should be your tagline. Okay, this has been a wonderful episode. Thank you so much, those of you who came to hang out with us today. We'll be responding to comments. Our DMs are always open. Happy International Women's Day one more time. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queen. What?
Do a Miley Cyrus and buy yourself flowers today.
Do it.
Yes. Dude, I love that.
Oh, I'm glad you did. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. If you liked the content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It's totally free and the #1 way you can support us. We will see you next week. Bye. Bye.